Hey everybody, Walt Disney World and SeaWorld have just presented their proposals for reopening to the Orange County Taskforce. Headlines are Walt Disney World, Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom will open to the public on July the 11th. Hollywood Studios and Epcot will open to the public on July the 15th. I've got slides from that presentation to show you after this. SeaWorld will open to the public on June the 11th after a cast member or employee day on June the 10th. They're the headlines. And Aquatica looks like it will open on June the 11th as well. So that's it. That's all I'm going to say for now, and then we'll come back out here and I'll tell you my thoughts. Jim McPhee, Senior Vice President of Operations, presented on behalf of Walt Disney. Prior to the official park openings on the 11th and 15th of July, he said that cast members and soft opening previews would take place. No dates were given for these. All guests will require a reservation prior to gaining entry to the park. No details were given. An overview was then provided of the health and safety protocols which would be implemented by Disney. Face coverings will be mandatory for both guests and cast members. McPhee said there would be significant reductions in capacity in the parks but did not mention a percentage reduction. Appropriate signage will be introduced into the parks to reinforce the need for social distancing. Barriers will be placed as appropriate to ensure this happens. Temperature screenings will be mandatory and will take place as they do currently at Disney Springs. The cutoff temperature there is 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit. There will be a reduction in cast member to guest interaction, especially in retail areas such as mobile food ordering and cashless payments. Character meet and greets will be suspended and play areas will be taken out of service. Parades, fireworks and other events that create crowds will be suspended. Disney is employing education, communication and engagement with its guests so that they know what's going to happen when they reach the parks. Know Before You Go was used at Disney Springs. Signage will be employed throughout the parks and cast members will help guests as appropriate. This includes the social distancing squad, who will encourage guests to abide by the social distancing regulations. Examples of the signage which will be introduced in the parks were then shown. These include what is required for entry and the need for physical distancing. One of the signs shown was that one that says basically you're on your own. If you catch COVID-19, that's on you. Other signage will reinforce the need to wear a face covering at all times, and there was one for one party at a time and another one for washing hands. General health and safety signage will also be posted, along with signs that will be placed on tables and a recommendation for cashless payment. Additional social distancing signs will be placed in the park as needed. SeaWorld, Aquatica and Discovery Cove will open on June the 11th, following an employee appreciation night on June the 10th. Mark Swanson, interim CEO of SeaWorld Parks and Entertainment, presented and started off with health and safety. An overview of the new protocols was presented prior to getting into the details of each. In line with Universal's policy, face coverings will be mandatory for both guests and team members. Face coverings will be provided for guests who don't have one. Social distancing will be in operation with a 6 feet separation between parties. Appropriate signage will be placed throughout the park, and I'll have examples of this later on. Increased cleaning and sanitisation will happen throughout the parks, and additional hand sanitisation stations will be located at appropriate points. Temperature screenings will be mandatory for all guests entering the park. The upper limit on temperature was not discussed, but Universal and Disney are using 100.4 as their upper limit. Instructional signage will be placed at the park entrance, and spacing will be increased between turnstiles. Park attendants at the entrance will be behind plexiglass. Seating layouts in restaurants will be adjusted to accommodate social distancing requirements. Paper menus will be used and buffet-style service will be suspended. Social distancing will also be employed in stores, and separate entries and exits will be used. Employees will be able to scan items for purchase through plexiglass, and guests will be able to bag their own purchases. Social distancing will also be in place for interaction with animals. Only tours allowing for physical distancing will operate for guests, but it wasn't made clear which would be suspended. Shows will take place, but with social distancing between seats or parties. Queue lines will be modified for rides, similar probably to those in Disney and Universal, and there will be no single rider lines. Social distancing will also take place on rides. Sesame Street was mentioned as a character meet and greet that would still take place but with social distancing. Guest capacity in Aquatica and Discovery Cove will be reduced, although exact numbers were not mentioned. Ride vehicles will be dedicated to each party, and lounge chairs will be moved 6 feet apart from anybody else. Examples of the new signage were then shown, which include the requirement for face coverings, for social distancing, for cleaning hands, modified seating and contactless payment. additional social distancing signage, remembering to wash hand signage, entry and exit and one-way signs will also be placed around the parks in appropriate locations. Mark Swanson wrapped up by saying that the protocols that would be implemented on day one are adaptable and may change depending on public health and governmental directives and advancing scientific knowledge. An explanation as to how Orange County conducted its examination of the park's reopening plans was then presented. Following that, a vote was taken within the task force as to whether the members believe that the parks are ready to reopen. The votes for both Disney World and SeaWorld went in their favour, and this will now be put forward to Governor DeSantis for ratification. So SeaWorld opening on June the 11th, I think that was on the cards given that they were testing last week, only a week behind Universal Studios now. Their protocol is much the same as Universal. I'll be there, I'll definitely be there. I've got an annual pass for SeaWorld, so I'll be there. Still working on that Universal pass, not sure about that yet. Disney opening on July the 11th, you know, that's a good way away actually. So I don't know if they've got a lot more work to put in, whether they've got apps to develop that they haven't yet developed or what, but yeah, July the 11th for Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom. So yeah, I thought that the Magic Kingdom would be out first, and it is. So I said, I think April the 6th, I said July the 1st for Magic Kingdom, and it turns out I was 10 days away from that, so pleased enough with that. Really pleased that Magic Kingdom's opening on the 11th. No big fanfare for July the 4th Independence Day, but they're going to be muted celebrations anyway, so I guess they didn't want to open the park and then maybe have a problem with that, or maybe that just didn't come into their thought at all. And then Hollywood Studios and Epcot on the 15th. I don't know what Epcot's going to look like. I thought they might open Epcot way later than the other parks, just because of the cultural representatives that they need in the parks. I don't know how they're going to fill those slots, whether they're going to fill them with people from those countries that already live in Central Florida or in America, or whether they're going to be not representatives from those countries in the World Showcase. It's going to be very interesting. Okay, that's it. That is the breaking news today. I'll see you back here for more news tomorrow as it develops. Disney have to put a lot more flesh on the bones of their presentation. SeaWorld's was much more comprehensive in terms of slides. But yeah, I'll see you tomorrow, guys. Stay safe, stay well. See you then. Bye-bye.